Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism, is slamming New York's bail reform plan. Speaking on the Cat Roundtable radio show on Sunday morning, John Miller said under the new rules, 99% of those arrested will be released after arraignment.
Which is going to be a problem because criminals are going to know at the time they're arrested, I'm not really risking going to jail. I'm not really risking anything except going through the system and coming out the other end.
The new plan will go into effect next year. It calls for people arrested on low-level misdemeanors or non-violent felonies to be released without bail until trial. The NYPD and the police union both say the no-bail law will make it much more difficult to deter crime.
New York City, non-violent suspects will no longer need to post bail under a new plan unveiled by Mayor de Blasio. And supporters say the plan will save the city money.
Khalif Browder was a 16-year-old high school sophomore when he wound up in Rikers on charges of stealing a backpack and couldn't post $3,000 bail. He suffered beatings from gangs and brutality from guards and spent 3 years waiting for a trial that was repeatedly delayed. In 2013, his case was dismissed and Browder got out, but couldn't pull his life together. He committed suicide. This case and other horror stories triggered calls for bail reform for low-level and non-violent offenses.
This is really important because sometimes people that can't afford $100 bail end up pleading guilty so they can get out, and that's unjust.
Now Mayor de Blasio has announced a nearly $18 million fund that lets judges substitute bail for 3,000 defendants charged with misdemeanors or as nonviolent felons. That comes with supervision. The bill has widespread support, although some say it has to be carefully rolled out.
What are the risks here?
Despite being the barometer for the criminal justice system throughout our nation, the risk here is very simply that somebody may fall into the system that will end up committing another crime. We can't afford even one person's life to be lost because of a new system.
But supporters say that risk already exists and that the new plan would also give relief to a costly jail system that is bursting at the seams.
I think it likely will save money because less people will be in jail. There'll be less overtime for court officers. The system will run more smoothly overall.
Now, the city says each year 45,000 people can't make bail and are detained. As for the funding, $4 million comes from the city and about another $14 million from money seized in assets forfeited that the Manhattan DA's office collects.
Ladies and gentlemen, New York City, they are going through bail reform. And this will stop the police from putting people in jail, so many in there for these low-level drug possession type crimes, which is the bulk of their arrest. And those people can now remain free until the time they go to trial. And of course, the police officers are all upset about this because they don't want this to change and they don't like this new bail reform that goes into effect in 2020, ladies and gentlemen. You know why? Because they heavily depend on grabbing people up and jailing them for non-violent drug crimes, which should not be a crime at all. If you are not jailing the opioid addicts in the same manner and you're jailing for all other drugs, then this should not even be able to stand anywhere. But remember, we're not in a just system. We're in this immoral system. That's where we are. So you're not going to see them do things like they really should be doing. It's all about arresting and stacking as many bodies in there by any means necessary. So that being said, in New York, they heavily depend on the low-level non-violent drug possession type arrests. They've been heavily depending on that for a long time, not only in New York but everywhere. And now with bail reform, when they arrest someone, they got to let them go. If they intend on arresting you for weed, they got to let you go. The only people that now will go straight to a jail cell are murderers and attempted murder. So if you commit any of the murder or attempted murders, you go straight to a cell. But if it's a low-level crime, which most of the arrests in America are, they get arrested, but they gotta release you.
Why can't I have every single bail? Bullshit. I want all the bails. If I can't get all the bails, I'll settle for what I can get. But I don't like to settle. I want them all.
Looking in that they're distributing East Coast bail bond t-shirt. And I don't think that could happen in other neighborhoods.
Rocking y'all since 96!
To me, I think it sends the wrong message. I believe Baltimore, that could have a negative connotation about it, especially with the high murder rate that we have. But I guess as long as you feel good that you're getting something free for nothing, and you're not. The propaganda that they're putting out with these t-shirts, all you're doing is continuing to help demoralize your community.
You got people that want to do away with the bail bond business that have no idea what the bail bond business is. We bail people out. Yes, we make money from it. We put them back in jail if they don't go to jail. Study it. Show me. Somebody come tell me why they should do away with bail bonds.
The pretrial bail industry is set up so that one has to put up security, whether it's cash or whether it's going to a bondsman and paying them a premium. But when you have to pay a bondsman 10% and you never get that money back, then people are literally thousands of dollars just to get their loved ones out of jail. And there's no guarantee that those cases are even going to go to trial. Bail isn't set based upon one's ability to pay. There are no standardization. Each judge determines bail on their own. Those with means get out and prepare for trial, and those that are poor sit. And they sit in cages. They sit in decrepit conditions for the most part. The average time is about 7 or 8 months in the state of Maryland where you sit prior to trial. And that puts enormous pressure once the case comes up for trial for someone to plead guilty just to get out of jail.
Most guys can't talk at $500,000, $1 million. Like, who got that type of money? Your life on the line both ways. So you trying your hardest to get out, but the money ain't gonna get you out, so you gotta take the plea.
Gray's funeral, over 400 folks were arrested, 263 people were detained. Most of them without even charges being brought against them. They were just swept up in neighborhoods and brought to the detention center.
I decided to apply these 14th Amendment arguments to our bail cases. This year we've filed 7 class action lawsuits challenging the American system of money bail. The first 6 cities have all agreed to get rid of the use of secured money bail for misdemeanor arrestees. One about this topic is that for so long things have been happening that are so illegal that now that attention is being paid to them and light is being shed on what's been going on in these courts and jails all around the country, we're starting to see some change.
Here in Washington, D.C., of the people coming in through lockup, a good 85 to 90% are going to appear in front of the judge. They'll end up being unshackled, handcuffs removed, and walking out the door of the courthouse because money is not used here. People are not remanded back to the jail in order to wait until a bail bond is, posted on their behalf. I'm Cliff Keenan. I'm the director of the Pretrial Services Agency for the District of Columbia. We believe our system is more effective than the money bail system. In fact, today, our jail is probably at 45% of its capacity because we're not seeing people being detained because they don't have the ability to put up money bail that's been imposed by a judge. In other jurisdictions, the judge is not looking at the individual risk factors associated with the person, they're only looking at the charge. Here, our risk assessment provides a whole wealth of information about which conditions, if any, need to be applied. For the most part, persons who are charged with low-level felonies and most misdemeanors, unless they have a serious criminal record, are going to be released on some conditions, all the way up to our high-intensity supervision program, which requires placement of a GPS bracelet on them, where we can monitor a curfew or stay-away conditions as ordered by the judge.
for a long, long time. And in a case where it's $1,000 or less of a bail, only about 18% of people are able to make that bail. My legislation would do away with bail entirely. It would not even be an option in court anymore. Judges would have 3 new options. They could propose a conditional release, they could release someone on their own recognizance, or in the most serious cases, can remand them to jail. And that would follow after a recommendation from a pretrial services agency that would be established.
We're portrayed as these evil bail bondsmen that make money, and senators make money, judges make money. Everybody has to feed their families. I pay every single tax dollar my accountant tells me to pay. I pay every single one of them. You know, I always say with our business, with Empire, it's like the state might be able to come in here. They're not going to find fugazi crap. They're not going to find corruption. They're not going to find all kinds of hullabaloo. My name is Michelle Eskenazi. I'm the CEO at Empire Bail Bonds. I'm also the CEO at Empire Bonding and Insurance Co., which is our family-owned bail insurance company. Things that New York City really didn't put their heads together and think about is low-level offenders. So you're releasing people on misdemeanors and violations, and now they fail to appear. Who's going to pick them up? There's no answer. This gentleman here is the best bail enforcement agent, period. What I always say about him is if you're running from him, you better keep running. He will devote the rest of his God-given life to finding you.
Hold your dog! Hold your dog! You're gonna get shot right in the fucking head! Hold your dog! Hold the dog! Hold your dog! We're gonna knock the door down! Hold your fucking dog before I shoot him!
The notion of money bail several hundred years ago, when someone could flee on horseback to a different jurisdiction and you needed to incentivize someone to go down, are impoverished people who've never left the geographic area in which they are alleged to have committed a crime.
This is not about making money or losing money. This is about people losing their freedom, losing their liberty, and spending time in jail when they have not been convicted of a crime. When that's happening, something is dreadfully wrong, and we need to change it no matter the cost. We shouldn't be afraid to make reforms and to make things better because of an industry concern in this case.
I'm worried that if we don't address these issues now, in this moment where people are finally paying attention, we'll never do it. If somehow we lose that outrage and we go back to being the society of indifference and inertia in these areas, the policies of the last 3 or 4 decades that have wrought so much devastation in impoverished communities will be made a permanent feature of American society.
The bail bonding industry, which I get very tired of talking about, they aren't really the issue. Money is the issue. Once you do away with money, the bondsmen go away. Money pervades the justice system, and money pervades America.
You're going to have all these people that are going to be running around with warrants, and then they're going to say, we need more government money to pay for to lock these people up when you didn't have to do it in the first place. If somebody shows me that it's more economical and it's smarter, then I guess I'll find something else to do. Maybe I'll fucking make pizzas. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll ride a dirt bike and become a 12 o'clock boy.